Hi friends, my name is S. Venkatesh. Today I'm gonna discuss ECMAScript 6 arrow functions. Let's get into the topic. ECMAScript 6 arrow functions. Arrow, fun- arrow functions are introduced in ES6, which provides you a more accurate way to write functions in JavaScript. They allow us to write smaller function syntax. Arrow functions make your code more readable and structured. Arrow functions are anonymous functions. The functions without a name are not bound with an identifier. They don't return any value and can declare without the function keyword. And arrow functions cannot be used as the constructors. The context within the arrow functions is lexically or statically defined. They are also called as lambda functions in different languages. And arrow functions do not include any prototype property and they cannot be used with a new keyword. Syntax for defining a arrow function may be const keyword and function name. This the function name is the normal function name equals to this the args argument one argument and so on to and this is the structure of the arrow function that means syntax and in the body of the function we may write any logic or depend upon the user's logic and there are three parts to an arrow function or lambda function. Parameters. Any function may optionally have the parameters, and the second one is fat arrow notation or lambda notation. It is notation for the arrow. It is a notation for the arrow and statements, and it represents the instruction set of the function. So there may be three parts, mainly three parts for the arrow function and lambda function. First one is parameters, and second one is notation. Or maybe we may also know call as lambda notation or statements. So mainly the function so it is optionally the parameters whether you can give parameters to the function or may not be. It's based on the user's choice. And the second is the notation. Most probably, it is most important to give a notation to the to indicate that that is a arrow function. So it is the notation for the it is the notation for the sorry it is the notation for the arrow and statements. It represents the instruction set of function in body of the uh, arrow function where you give the statements based upon the user's logic. And the next one is syntactic variations. There are some syntactic variations for the arrow functions that are as follows: optional parentheses for the single parameter. We may be indicate that as a parenthesis or we may remove the parenthesis for the single parameter. That's our choice. So, for example, if you I take out where num equals to this is a parameter, but there are no parentheses for the single parameter. So, before I said this is the notation for indicating the arrow function. So, console.x x may be any value. So for example, I have this is the definition of the function, and I am calling the function as num of 140. 140 is x, so the console will print to 140. And the second is optional braces for the single statement and the empty braces if there is not in parameter required. And it states that the optional braces for single statement and empty braces if there is not any parameter. If there is no any parameter, we may does not indicate the braces for the statements and any parameters. And arrow functions with parameters. If we require to pass more than one parameter by using an arrow functions, then we have to pass them with parentheses. So before I have said if we may declaring the function with parameters, there may be optionality to use the parentheses or not use the parentheses. But when we are declaring the function with more than one parameter, then we have to use most probably we have to use the parentheses to get rid of the errors, and then we have to pass with them within the parentheses. For example, say where show equals to a comma b comma c. Um, um, it is the arrow notation and console.log um, a plus b plus c, and show we have given the three parameters as 100 comma 200 comma and 300. So your console will be printed as value as 600 as the answer. And And the next one is arrow functions with default parameters. Maybe you can also give in a ES script. The function allows the initialization of parameters with the default values if there is a no value passed to it, or it is undefined. You can see the illustration for the same in the following code. You maybe have seen ECMAScript arrow functions. There is a way to we can give a default value in the function declaration, and when you are calling the function, it may not be, you need not to be given value to the default parameters. So give an example where show equals to a comma b equals to 200. This is the default parameter, and printing it in the console as a plus b, and calling the function as with a single parameter as 100 because b is a default parameter. And in the above function, the value of p is set to 200 by default. The function will always consider 200 as the value of b if no value of b is explicitly passed. So there is no need to be explicitly we have to pass the b value. So because we have declared before default value to be as 200, and arrow function with rest parameters. And rest parameters do not restrict you to pass the number of values in a function, but all passed values must be of the same type. But we can also say that rest parameters act as the placeholders for multiple arguments of the same type. For declaring the rest parameters, the parameter name should be prefixed with the spread operator that has three periods, not more than three or not less than three, where show equals to also any number of parameters we can pass. That means these parameters are not rest parameters, but they are parameters must be of the same type. That all parameters must be of the same type. So, calling the function as show 100 comma 200 comma 300 and so on 800 and so these are all the same type of integer and same type, which means arrow function without parentheses. So before I have said if you have a single parameter to pass, then the parentheses are optional. For example, var equals to x braces constant log x, so of hello world, where x refers to the hello world. And advantages of arrow functions, there are mainly four types of advantages. First one is it is code size, and second one is return statement is optional for single line function, and lexically bind the context, and functional presses are optional for single line statement. These are the four advantages of the arrow function. First one, it reduces the code size. When we use the syntax of arrow function, the size of the code gets reduced. We can write less amount of code by using the arrow function. And the second one, return statement and function presses are option for single line functions. In ES5, we need to define the return statement in the functions. But in ES6, we do not require to define the return statement for single line functions. The functional presses are also optional for single line. So in ES5, we have to must define the return statement for single line statements. But whereas in ES6, there is an optional optionality we can use parentheses or not for single line statements and return statements. And third one is lexically bind a context. Arrow functions arrow function binds the context lexically or statically. The handling of this is different in arrow functions as compared to regular functions. In the arrow function, there is not any binding of this. In regular functions, this keyword is used to represent the objects. that call the function, which could either be a window, a button, or a document or anything. So guys, this is about the arrow function in JavaScript, and thank you guys.